continues to rise tonight, we are seeing a few positive signs in stopping the spread. Looking at the hospitalization curve, the new numbers today showing 132 people in hospital, down slightly from yesterday. We can see the curve beginning to flatten. 68 patients remain in critical care or in the ICU. That number is unfortunately up slightly. Overall, 34 new test positive cases today, bringing the total in BC up to 1,370. And more positive news coming out of Dr. Henry today. She gave us an update about long-term care facilities.
We have no new facility outbreaks, and indeed we have an additional long-term care facility where the outbreak has been declared over. That's really good news.
And sadly, 2 more people have died, but we can also tell you that 858 patients have fully recovered. Well, across the country, the numbers are scary, but the federal government says that is exactly the point. New modeling data released today paints a stark picture of how Canada's COVID-19 pandemic will likely play out. CTV's Penny Daphos has that story.
If you're having a tough time keeping from going outside in this glorious spring weather, you should start getting used to the idea of staying inside through the summer and beyond.
Normality, as it was before, will not come back full on until we get a vaccine.
In order to reduce temptation, Canada's top health officials laid out the grim forecast of what's coming, with the number of COVID fatalities expected to double next week. With keeping up restrictions, thorough hand washing, and social distancing, they still expect between 11 and 22,000 dead over the course of the pandemic.
These stock numbers tell us that we must do everything that we can now to remain in that best case scenario.
Because doing nothing could have seen as many as 350,000 Canadians dead, roughly equal to the total number of people who die in this country every year.
The gravity of the seriousness of the issue is high.
This UBC expert says even though BC's infection rate is trending down and it looks like we're doing well compared to other provinces, that could change in an instant.
There is no easy answer to this. There is no an end point very near future. There could be other waves, second waves, third waves.
Alberta, Ontario, and now the federal government have laid out hard numbers outlining what it could mean for our hospitals and morgues. But in BC,
our modeling has been slightly different in that I don't feel there's value in some types of the projections that have been presented. Death data is not something that is easily projected into a model because scenarios can be very different. If you look at ours, for example, where we have a lot of long-term care home outbreaks, we have a high proportion of deaths in those outbreaks. That doesn't reflect the general transmission of this virus in our community.
Penny Daphos, CTV News, Vancouver.
Vancouver Coastal Health is announcing the Vancouver Convention Centre is now operational as a makeshift hospital if it's needed. The 271-bed site has patient and staff showers and washrooms, 4 nursing stations, oxygen, and medical supplies. The site is for non-COVID-19 patients who might require less hands-on care. New job numbers are out, and they're painting a dismal picture tonight. Across Canada, more than 1 million people have lost their jobs. Binder Sutton takes a closer look at BC.
In BC last month, 132,000 jobs lost, each one belonging to a person.
The day after we closed down on March 16th, we laid off our employees. We have a pretty small staff. There's only 4 people and myself.
Mid-March, the turning point in the COVID-19 pandemic. Darren Graham's board game cafe in Abbotsford is now shuttered. Stats Canada says hotels, restaurants, and entertainment places are hardest hit.
Victoria's a tourist city and no one has ever seen anything of this nature before, so there's a lot of fear.
In March, BC's unemployment rate, 7.2%, a dramatic jump from 5% in February. For most, employment insurance as well as federal and provincial emergency funding will help. For Graham, though, no dice.
It seems like everything that is made available to us, we somehow slip by.
Graham says he doesn't meet the requirements for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. His payroll is a few $1,000s short of qualifying for interest-free loans. And as a business owner, he won't get EI.
That's okay. I get lots of time with my family right now.
He will get a bump in Child Canada benefits and a break on hydro. The Premier says BC's $5 billion aid plan is looking to fill the gaps.
We have put our task in front of us to make sure that as people go through the federal process, don't find a place for themselves, that they can come to the province and seek redress of some kind.
I know this is all happening very fast, but I just wish that a more accessible program was available.
Graham appreciates the help offered so far, but wonders if giving all residents a basic income is the way to go. As for his company, he's selling gift cards and games online. One of the most popular games right now?
The hot one is Pandemic. It's a cooperative game, so everybody's working together.
Vinder Sudjan, CTV News, Victoria.
Well, effective today, parking enforcement is resuming west of Burrard Street in an effort to keep people who don't live in the neighborhood from visiting Stanley Park, the seawall, and English Bay. The city asking people to stay in the areas around their own homes. The TD Vancouver International Jazz Festival is being canceled this year. The Coastal Jazz and Blues Society says that it attracts more than 500,000 people and generates $43 million in economic activity. Well, in recent days, we have shown you images of crowded beaches and parks right here in Metro Vancouver. Well, it's no different in Mexico, where a journalist reporting on crowded beaches during this lockdown period says that she was boldly confronted, as you're about to see, by a pair of tourists. She claims that one of those men is from White Rock. CTV's Ben Milder joins us live in studio with more on this. Now, Ben, you spoke with that journalist from Puerto Vallarta today. What happened?
Well, she was out doing her job, reporting on people not obeying orders to stay away from public beaches. A pair of tourists took issue with that and began yelling profanities at her. The conflict escalated from there, and the journalist had her camera rolling the whole time.
En la playa.
While shooting video of tourists lounging on a beach, Puerto Vallarta's Doraliz Tyrone was surprised to see one storming right towards her.
Nobody wants you filming us.
Tyrone, a journalist, was shocked further when the man reached out and grabbed her camera.
Tell no, go. We don't want you here.
When I hear that, I only have to say I don't care because it's my country. Here you are in Mexico. I don't care that because this place is public.
Tyrone never stopped rolling as the confrontation continued, catching a threatening gesture from a second man who'd been sitting with the first.
Here's what we said, right? Get lost.
Tyrone says she's since heard from other locals that one of the men is American and the other is a Canadian from White Rock. CTV News has not been able to verify the men's identities. What a shame, wrote the American ambassador on Twitter. I fully agree, completely unacceptable, Canada's ambassador to Mexico replied. Tyrone says she immediately reported the incident to local police, but they told her there was nothing they could do, even though she has a video.
The person is a foreign, the sister is, and they have a lot of human rights, and they cannot do nothing for me.
What about your human rights? Not to be assaulted while you're doing your job.
I know that. I feel a lot of angry.
Although still upset about the encounter, Tyrone says it will not tarnish her opinion of Canadian tourists in general.
All right, so Ben, Mexican police told her that there was nothing that they could do. Are those men still vacationing in Puerto Vallarta?
That's not 100% clear. As you know, Norma, international travel is very difficult right now, but Tyrone says she heard the men were spotted at the airport in Puerto Vallarta on Wednesday. She hopes they managed to get flights because she doesn't ever want to see them again. Norma?
All right, Ben Milder reporting live for us tonight. Thanks, Ben. Homicide detectives have identified the victim in a Wally area killing on Tuesday's 21-year-old Pritpal Singh. Police are still working to determine a motive, but say that the incident does